What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to the brother Brendan Olson for the $10 donation via the Cash App. Much respect to him for showing love once again to Too Raw for TV. And he had a video request, and essentially his video request was, look, we all know the history of the Clippers. Okay, they are the most cursed, definitely the most cursed franchise in NBA history, perhaps the most cursed franchise in sports history. It took them 50 years to make a conference finals. Despite the fact that they've had a plethora of talent play with that organization, with that franchise, it just seems like there's always this curse of injuries or acquiring players just as they're exiting their primes and not performing to the levels expected, or disgruntled players who just don't want to be there and aren't playing to their capabilities, whatever. Something always happens. So now you have a Clippers team who last year won 50 games. Shockingly, when you think about expectations going into the season, won 50 games, yet they were eliminated in the first round, albeit it took 7 games, by the Denver Nuggets. But they've made some big acquisitions this all season. They acquired Brook Lopez, who's been playing for the Milwaukee Bucks for like the last 7 or 8 years or so. They've reacquired Chris Paul. This should be his swan song. This will be his last season in the NBA. They still have, of course, Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. And, of course, now, after a buyout with the Phoenix Suns, they have Bradley Beal. So they definitely have a stacked team. The problem is, I think most people will have this observation, if this was 5 years ago, the hype for this team would be unbelievable. Unfortunately, they got a team full of unks. You know what I'm saying? They got a team full of veterans who, not only are they on the downside of their careers, these are players who frequently have injuries, which of course can severely impact the success of this team. So this team, honestly, despite the talent, the names on the jerseys, the expectations are not really that high, you know? But yet, there's still some hope there. If things could just go right for this Clippers team, if everything can go right and they win a championship and they defy expectations, what does that do for the legacy of the 3 elders on this team? Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, and Chris Paul. Well, for Chris Paul, if he was to win a championship, especially, and I know that at this point in his career, he's not going to get a lot of minutes compared to his prime, but if he did get substantial, if he got substantial playing time at this stage of his career, then what would that mean for him? Well, when you look at his resume, he's a 12-time All-Star. He was the All-Star Game MVP back in 2013, 4 times All-NBA first team, 5 times All-NBA second team, 2 times All-NBA third team, 7 times All-Defensive first team. Now, some people, and I'm one of them, think sometimes that Chris Paul's defense is a little bit overrated. Okay, but hey, it is what it is. Twice All-Defensive second team, NBA Rookie of the Year back in 2006, All-Rookie first team 2006, 5 times NBA assist leader, a record 6 times he led the league in steals, part of the 75th anniversary team, and he also won Olympic gold in 2008 back in Beijing, and he won Olympic gold in 2012 in London. Okay, now if you add an NBA championship to that list, plus realistically, I think you could argue that if he stays healthy this year, he'll have for his career over 23,000 points, over 12,800 assists, and over 2,800 steals, which would put him second all-time to John Stockton in steals, where he's already at. In career points, it's up there, but not toward the top. Maybe, off the top of my head, I'm thinking like 23,000 points is like what, tops 60? I don't know. I got to look at the list. I might be putting that too high. Maybe top 30 or something. I don't know. I got to look at the list. 12,800 career assists. That would put him, depending upon what LeBron James does, that would put him perhaps second all time in assists where he is right now, right? So I would put Chris Paul definitely top 5 all time as a point guard. Of course, he's not great in Magic. He's not great in Oscar, in my opinion. I don't think most people put him ahead of Steph. I still can't, even with all of these gaudy numbers, having played 21 years, I still couldn't put him ahead of Isaiah, because Isaiah did it as the leader, and the generally unquestioned best player of those Piston teams. While as this stage of his career, Chris Paul would be a hanger-on. But I think I would firmly put him in the top 5 spot. I would put him probably at that number 5 spot. That's just me, okay? Now, of course, you have James Harden, okay? Perennial playoff choker, regular season phenom when it comes to scoring, but a perennial playoff choke artist of epic proportions. I don't need to go down the line and go down the list to show and just to remind you of how bad it's been for James Harden over the past 8 years, really, when it comes to epic playoff flameouts. And he's probably one of the main reasons why I don't really have much hope for this team, because we've seen James Harden do this too many times. And he has to prove it to us. The onus isn't on us to give him a break. The onus is on him to prove that he's not a choke artist. Okay? But if James Harden somehow, some way this year comes out in the playoffs and actually is more consistent and has actual big games, which we know he's not going to have. But if he did, well, honestly, I still have to hold his past against him to a certain extent. Now, if he went out and had the series of his life in an NBA Finals and led the Clippers to a championship, right? Yeah. Historically speaking, if he's a significant factor in the Clippers winning a championship, the Clippers at this stage of his career, and he was Finals MVP, then yes, he is a top 5 all-time shooting guard. He zooms up that list, because that would just, that would be such a historic thing for him to do and accomplish that, you have to kind of reward him for that, even with all of the prior playoff flameouts. Now, he's not better than Mike. He's not better than Kobe. He's not better than Jerry West. I wouldn't put him ahead of, I wouldn't put him ahead of Clyde Drexler. I wouldn't put him ahead of Dwayne Wade. So what is that, fifth? Kind of the same situation, right? Some people have a problem with that. They'll say, well, wait a minute now. You're trying to say he's better than Allen Iverson? Well, I mean, I'm not saying that, but I mean, championships do matter. And if he were to be a main cog, like I'm talking about, like he's averaging 27, 28, 29, 30 points a game in the finals. And he's having a 45-point signature performance in the clincher, something like that. Well, you got, I mean, at that point, and especially it being the Clippers of all teams, yeah, I got to do it, Also, interestingly enough, if James Harden has a productive year, he would finish this season with over 29,000 points, 7,000 rebounds, 9,000 assists, and 1,800 steals. Not to mention probably over 3,300, maybe even to 3,400 three-pointers. Probably 3,400 three-pointers made. Pretty goddamn impressive, man. Pretty goddamn impressive. And when you look at Kawhi Leonard's resume, it's pretty impressive. An MVP, 11-time All-Star, 6 times All-NBA first team, 2-time All-NBA third team, 6th man of the year back in 2012, 3-time scoring champion, 2-time assist leader, NBA All-Rookie second team, 75th anniversary team. And, of course, he won Olympic gold back in 2012 in London, right? Now, the thing about Kawhi Leonard, right? What hurts Kawhi Leonard would be his aggregate numbers. Because even if he had a strong season, right? Let's say he had the strongest season he's had in years. Let's say he comes out and averages 24, 25 points a night, hitting big shots, clutch baskets, buzzer beaters, plays at a high level on both ends of the floor consistently, becomes a top 5 MVP candidate, one of those seasons, right? And he ups the ante in the playoffs. Just say he becomes, let's say he has his best run in the postseason since 2019. And he wins a 3rd championship. And he wins a 3rd finals MVP, right? Well, in your mind, you say, well, shit, maybe he's top 20. Maybe, because then when you're looking at his resume, then he'll be a 3-time NBA champion, a 3-time NBA Finals MVP, most likely then a 7-time All-Star. He's a 2020 NBA All-Star Game MVP, perhaps 4 times All-NBA First Team after this year, or 4 times All-NBA Second Team. Maybe that's more likely. Twice he's Defensive Player of the Year winner, 3 times All-Defensive First Team, 4 times All-Defensive Second Team, NBA All-Rookie First Team back in 2012, led the league in steals back in 2015, and on the 75th anniversary team, right? One thing that Kawhi Leonard is missing from his resume is Olympic gold, okay? But when you look at the aggregate numbers, man, even if Kawhi Leonard had a strong season and played like 70-plus games, he would still probably finish with no more than 16,000 points in his career. No more than 16,000. So, when you look at that, you look at the fact that he would still finish with less than, I think that's less than 3,000 career assists, only about 5,000 career rebounds compared to some of the stats these guys have today because they come to the league so much younger, don't go to college now, or don't go to much college. The aggregate numbers would hurt him, kind of have a bit of a Bill Walton effect. But 3 championships and 3 finals MVPs do mean something. I mean, when you look at the all-time greats, they have that on their resume. So I think you split the difference. He's not a top 10 all-time player because of his lack of availability. So maybe he finishes more around a top 25 all-time player. At least that's just how I look at that, right? So that's how I kind of gauge that. I think if they win a championship this year, I think of all the 3 I just mentioned, it means the most to James Harden. Even though James Harden has gaudy offensive numbers, I can make an argument that players of this era are playing with inflated numbers. When you look at James Harden, who has closed in on 28,000 career points. When you look at DeMar DeRozan, who most people don't tend to think of as first ballot Hall of Famer, but I think DeMar DeRozan is closed in on 25,000 career points. You see what I'm saying? Like, these guys' numbers are very, very inflated. So I take that into account with the era these guys are playing in. But if James Harden was to lead the Clippers in the playoffs, especially in the finals, to an NBA championship, then that would mean a lot to his legacy. Anyway, tell me what you guys think.